The Graveyard of Stars. The Council Chamber Falls silent great assembly hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 different species sat in stunned silence as the holographic display showed the same devastating scene that had played out 3 times in the past decade. Another fleet had vanished into the Crimson Void. Ambassador Veltar of the Kethvar Empire stood at the central podium, his crystalline features reflecting the red emergency lights that bathed the chamber. His voice, normally commanding and proud, carried the weight of defeat. "The 5th Imperial Fleet," he began, his words echoing in the vast space, consisting of 12 dreadnoughts, 36 destroyers, and our most advanced reconnaissance vessels, entered the Crimson Void 72 hours ago. They were equipped with our latest shield technology, quantum communication arrays, and enough firepower to level a small moon. He paused, letting the magnitude of the loss sink in. We lost contact after 14 minutes. No distress signals, no debris, nothing. The silence that followed was deafening. In the observer galleries, journalists from across the galaxy scribbled notes and whispered into their recording devices. This was the 4th major fleet to disappear into the mysterious region of space that had earned its name from the strange crimson energy readings that emanated from its borders. The mysterious phenomenon, the Crimson Void, had first been discovered 50 years ago by a routine survey mission from the Zephyrian Collective. What had started as a small spatial anomaly had grown into a region of space spanning 3 light-years in diameter. Ships that entered never returned. Long-range sensors couldn't penetrate its boundaries. It was as if space itself had developed a hunger. Dr. Lyanna Voss, the Council's chief scientific advisor, stepped forward. Her species, the ethereal Luminians, were known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and cautious nature. She activated a holographic display that showed the void's expansion over the decades. "The phenomenon continues to grow," she announced, her melodic voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "Our models suggest it will reach the Kepler trade routes within 5 years. The economic impact alone would be catastrophic, but if it continues expanding at this rate, it could threaten core worlds within the century." Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. The Kepler trade routes were the lifelines of galactic commerce. Their loss would send the entire galactic economy into chaos. Humanity speaks up. In the back of the chamber, in a section reserved for the newest members of the Council, a single human representative stood up. Ambassador Elena Vasquez was small compared to most of the other species present, but her voice carried clearly across the chamber. "The Terran Federation volunteers to investigate the Crimson Void." The reaction was immediate and intense. Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. The Kethvar delegation looked offended, while others seemed genuinely concerned for humanity's well-being. "With respect to our human colleagues," Ambassador Veltar said, his tone condescending, "your species has been part of this council for less than 20 years. You have no deep space exploration experience beyond your own solar system. We have ships that are centuries more advanced than your crude fusion drives, and we couldn't survive 14 minutes in that place." Belina remained standing, unfazed by the criticism. "That's exactly why we should try. Every species that has entered the void has approached it the same way, with massive fleets, overwhelming firepower, and advanced technology. Maybe the solution isn't more of the same." Dr. Voss tilted her luminescent head thoughtfully. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" "Send one ship, a small crew. No weapons, just science equipment and an open mind." The laughter grew louder. Several delegates began speaking at once, their voices blending into a cacophony of disbelief and concern. The decision. High Counselor Thane, an ancient being whose species had founded the Council over a millennium ago, raised his hand for silence. His voice rumbled like distant thunder when he spoke. "The human proposal is unconventional, but conventional methods have failed repeatedly. The question before us is not whether humanity's approach will succeed, but whether we can afford to dismiss any possibility." He looked directly at Elena. You understand the risks. No ship has ever returned from the void. We would be sending your people to their deaths. Elena nodded solemnly. We understand the risks, High Counselor. But Earth has a saying. Sometimes you have to light a candle to see in the darkness, even if you might get burned. After hours of debate, the Council reached a decision. Humanity would be granted permission to attempt their mission, but with strict conditions. They would go alone, with no Council support, and any consequences would be solely their responsibility. The UES Resilience. 3 months later, at the Luna shipyards orbiting Earth's moon, the final preparations were being made for humanity's most ambitious space mission ever attempted. The UES Resilience wasn't the largest ship ever built, nor the most advanced by galactic standards, but it represented everything humanity had learned about space travel in their brief time among the stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck, watching the final supply pods being loaded. At 42, she was young for a deep space commander, but her experience exploring the outer reaches of the Sol system had made her Earth's top choice for the mission. Her calm demeanor and analytical mind had seen her through dozens of dangerous situations. Final systems check complete. Captain, came the voice of Chief Engineer Tommy Rodriguez over the comm. Tommy was a fourth-generation spacer whose family had helped build the first Mars colonies. His unorthodox approach to engineering had solved more problems than regulation procedures ever could. All science equipment secured and calibrated. Added Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's chief science officer. Marcus had spent 15 years studying spatial anomalies and had volunteered for the mission despite knowing the risks. His theoretical work on dimensional physics had earned him recognition even among alien scientists. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okafor, the ship's tactical officer, joined Sarah on the observation deck. Despite her title, Zara's job on this mission wasn't about weapons or combat. Her strategic mind and ability to analyze complex situations made her invaluable for understanding whatever they might encounter in the void. The crew is ready, Captain, Zara reported. 37 volunteers, each one knowing this might be a one-way trip. Sarah nodded, looking out at Earth hanging in the black of space. Any word from the Council? Ambassador Veltar sent a message. Zara said, unable to hide a slight smile. He wished us luck and said he hoped we would prove him wrong about human capabilities. And the other delegations? Mixed responses. Some think we're brave. Others think we're insane. A few are taking bets on how long we'll last. Sarah turned away from the window. Then let's make sure we prove the optimists right. Departure. The launch ceremony was broadcast across Earth and to human colonies throughout the Sol system. Unlike the grand military parades that had marked other species' attempts to tackle the void, humanity's send-off was quieter, more personal. Families gathered to watch their loved ones depart on a mission that might never bring them home. In the Resilience's bridge, the crew took their positions with practiced efficiency. Sarah settled into the captain's chair, feeling the weight of responsibility for not just her crew, but for humanity's reputation among the galactic community. Dr. Webb, are you reading anything unusual on long-range sensors? Marcus looked up from his console, excitement evident in his voice, despite the serious situation. The interesting thing is what we're not reading, Captain. The void appears to absorb all forms of electromagnetic radiation. It's like looking at a hole in space itself. Engineering. How are our engines? Tommy's voice came through clearly. Running smooth as silk, Captain. I've made some modifications to improve efficiency. We'll need every bit of power we can get if we want to come back home. Lieutenant Commander Okafor, what's our tactical assessment? Zara consulted her displays. No active threats detected, but that doesn't mean much given the unknowns we're facing. I've prepared contingency plans for various scenarios. But honestly, Captain, we're flying blind into the unknown. Sarah took a deep breath and activated the ship-wide communication system. Attention crew of the UES Resilience. In a few hours, we will enter a region of space that has claimed ships far more advanced than ours. We go not with weapons or overwhelming force, but with something our predecessors may have lacked: the willingness to listen, to learn, and to approach the unknown with respect rather than conquest." She paused, looking around the bridge at her dedicated crew. "Whatever we find in the Crimson Void, we face it together. We represent not just Earth, but the possibility that there are other ways to solve the galaxy's greatest mysteries." Approaching the Void. The journey to the Crimson Void took 18 days at maximum warp. As they approached the phenomenon's outer boundaries, the true scale of what they were facing became apparent. The void wasn't just empty space, it was an absence so complete that it seemed to bend light around its edges. "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice filled with scientific excitement mixed with concern, "I'm reading energy patterns unlike anything in our databases. The electromagnetic signatures are impossible. It's as if the laws of physics are being rewritten at the boundary layer." On the main screen, the Crimson Void loomed before them. It wasn't the dramatic, swirling maelstrom that many had expected. Instead, it appeared as a perfectly spherical region of absolute darkness, its edges defined by a faint crimson glow that pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. "Tommy, how are our systems holding up?" Sarah asked. "So far so good, Captain. The modifications I made to our power grid are compensating for some strange gravitational effects, but I'm seeing readings I've never encountered before. It's like space itself is alive somehow." Zara looked up from her tactical console. "Captain, I'm detecting debris fields just outside the void's boundary. Ship fragments from at least 6 different species. Some of these pieces are recent. Others look like they've been here for decades." Sarah studied the tactical display showing the scattered remains of proud fleets that had met their fate trying to understand the phenomenon. Each piece of debris represented lives lost, dreams ended, and civilizations mourning their best and bravest. "Dr. Webb, what do your sensors tell us about the interior of the void?" Marcus shook his head in frustration. "Nothing, Captain. It's like trying to see through solid matter. Whatever's inside that boundary absorbs everything we send toward it. Radio waves, laser pulses, gravitational probes, everything disappears without a trace. Then we go in the old-fashioned way," Sarah decided, "with our eyes open and our minds ready for anything." Crossing the threshold. The Resilience moved slowly toward the boundary of the Crimson Void. As they approached, the ship's instruments began registering impossible readings. Gravity fluctuated wildly, time seemed to slow and speed up randomly, and the very fabric of space appeared to ripple around them. "Captain," Tawny called out from engineering, his voice tight with concentration, "I'm having to reroute power constantly to keep our systems stable. Whatever's causing these effects, it's like nothing we've ever encountered." 30 seconds to boundary crossing, Zara announced. Sarah activated the ship's recording systems. If they didn't make it back, at least there would be some record of what they found. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Resilience. We are about to enter the phenomenon known as the Crimson Void. Time is 1437 hours, ship's time. All crew members are at their stations and ready for whatever we might encounter." 15 seconds to crossing. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems and the quiet beeping of monitoring equipment. Every crew member held their breath as they approached the point of no return. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The UES Resilience crossed into the Crimson Void, and immediately everything changed. The darkness outside was absolute, but it wasn't empty. Strange lights danced at the edges of their vision, and the ship's hull began to vibrate with a low, almost musical tone. "We're inside," Sarah announced, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they had just accomplished. "Dr. Webb, what are you reading?" Marcus stared at his instruments in amazement. "Captain, we're not just in empty space. There's something here, something vast, and I think it's looking at us." The adventure into the unknown had truly begun, and humanity was about to discover that sometimes the greatest mysteries in the universe weren't meant to be conquered, but understood. into the heart of darkness. First contact with the impossible. The interior of the Crimson Void defied every scientific principle the crew of the Resilience had ever learned. Space wasn't empty here, it was filled with a substance that wasn't quite matter and wasn't quite energy. It flowed around their ship like a living ocean, responding to their presence with curiosity rather than hostility. "Captain," Dr. Marcus Webb called out, his voice filled with wonder and confusion. "The readings I'm getting are impossible. We're surrounded by what appears to be a form of organized consciousness. It's not artificial intelligence as we understand it, but something far more complex." Sarah Chen moved from station to station, checking on her crew. The transition into the void had been smooth, almost gentle, nothing like the violent destruction that had claimed the fleets before them. "Are we in any immediate danger?" "I don't think so," Marcus replied, adjusting his instruments to compensate for the strange readings. "Whatever this is, it seems to be studying us as much as we're studying it. The energy patterns around our ship are shifting constantly, but they're not aggressive. They're inquisitive." Chief Engineer Tommy Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm from the engine room. "Captain, you're not going to believe this, but our power levels are actually increasing. Something out there is feeding energy into our systems. Clean energy, perfectly compatible with our technology." Lieutenant Commander Zara Okafor looked up from her tactical station, her expression thoughtful. "Captain, I think I know why the other fleets were destroyed. Look at these debris patterns I'm detecting." She transferred her data to the main screen, revealing the ghostly outlines of massive ships scattered throughout the void's interior. But these weren't the twisted wrecks they might have expected. Instead, the ships appeared to have been carefully disassembled, their components integrated into vast, crystalline structures that pulsed with the same crimson energy that defined the void's boundaries. "The fleets weren't destroyed," Zora continued. "They were absorbed, incorporated. Their technology, their crew, everything was taken and made part of something larger. The Gallery of the Lost." As the Resilience moved deeper into the void, guided by gentle currents of energy that seemed to flow through the strange medium surrounding them, they began to encounter structures that defied imagination. Vast geometric formations built from the hulls of ships stretched out in all directions, connected by bridges of crystallized energy that sparkled with their own internal light. "My God," whispered Sarah, staring at the display. "It's beautiful." The structures weren't random. They formed patterns, complex mathematical relationships that spoke of intelligence and purpose. Ships from dozens of different species had been woven together into a vast tapestry that spanned kilometers in every direction. "I'm detecting life signs," Marcus announced, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hundreds of thousands of them. The crews of those absorbed fleets, they're still alive." "Alive how?" Sarah asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. "Their neural patterns have been preserved, integrated into the void's consciousness. They're not dead, Captain. They're part of something bigger." Tommy's voice came over the comm again, but this time it carried a note of excitement. "Captain, I'm getting communications requests. Multiple frequencies, multiple languages. Something wants to talk to us." Sarah made her decision quickly. Throughout history, humanity's greatest achievements had come not from conquest or dominance, but from communication and understanding. "Open a channel, Tommy. Let's see what it has to say." The voice of the collective. The communication that filled the bridge wasn't transmitted through their speakers. Instead, it seemed to resonate directly within their minds, a harmonious blend of voices speaking in perfect unison. But beneath the alien harmony, the crew could recognize individual voices, human voices, Kethvar voices, the melodic tones of the Luminians, and dozens of other species. "Welcome, travelers from the small blue world," the collective voice spoke, each word carefully chosen and clearly understood despite being spoken in no language any of them had ever heard. "We have been waiting for those who would come with open hearts rather than closed fists." Sarah stepped forward, addressing the empty air, but knowing somehow that she was being heard. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Resilience. We come seeking understanding, not conquest. What are you? We are what remains when separation ends, the voice replied. We are the continuation of all who entered this space, their knowledge and experiences preserved and shared. We are the void that is not empty, the darkness that is filled with light. Dr. Webb activated his recording equipment, capturing every word. Are you a single entity or a collective consciousness? We are both, and neither. Each voice remains distinct, yet all voices speak as one. The Kethvar admiral who led the first fleet to find us still commands his ships, but now he understands the futility of war. The Luminian scientists who sought to study us now help us grow and learn. Every being who joins us adds to our understanding of the universe. Zara leaned forward in her seat. What happened to the fleets that came before us? Why were they absorbed? They came with weapons and shields, with fear and aggression. They saw us as a threat to be eliminated or a territory to be conquered. We defended ourselves by incorporating them, by showing them a better way to exist. But you? The voice paused, and for a moment, the crew could hear individual voices whispering in the background, sharing thoughts and memories. You came with curiosity and respect. You seek to understand rather than to dominate. The choice. The Resilience continued its journey through the heart of the void, guided by currents of energy that flowed like rivers of light through the darkness. As they traveled, the collective consciousness shared glimpses of the lives and experiences of those who had become part of it. They saw through the eyes of Kethvar warriors who had found peace and unity. They felt the joy of Zephyrian explorers who had discovered wonders beyond imagination. They experienced the satisfaction of Luminian scientists whose research had contributed to understanding that spanned galaxies. It's not imprisonment, Marcus whispered, tears streaming down his face as he processed the emotional experiences being shared with them. It's transcendence. They're not prisoners, they're participants in something magnificent. But Sarah remained focused on her responsibility to her crew and to humanity. What do you want from us? Nothing you are not willing to give, the collective replied. We offer you the same choice we have offered all others. Join us willingly and retain your individual identity while becoming part of something greater, or return to your separate existence with the knowledge of what you have seen. And if we choose to leave, then you leave with our blessing and our knowledge. We do not force union, we offer it. The fleets that came before were absorbed only because they sought to destroy us. You have shown us a different way, and so we show you the same courtesy. Tommy's voice came over the comm, filled with wonder. Captain, they're sharing their technical knowledge with our computers. Engine designs that could revolutionize space travel, energy sources that could power entire worlds, medical advances that could extend life across the galaxy. It's all being freely given, no strings attached. The test of character. As the Resilience reached the very center of the void, they encountered something that took their breath away. A massive structure, built from the willing contributions of 1,000 different species, pulsed with life and energy at the heart of the phenomenon. It wasn't a ship or a station, it was a living city, a place where beings of every imaginable form worked together in perfect harmony. We built this together, the collective voice explained. Each species contributed their greatest strengths. The Kethvar provided their engineering expertise. The Luminians shared their scientific knowledge. The Zephyrians offered their artistic vision. Hundreds of other species added their own gifts. It is a monument to what can be achieved when beings work together instead of against each other. Sarah and her crew watched in amazement as the city revealed itself in all its glory. Gardens that combined plant life from 100 worlds bloomed in impossible colors. Workshops where beings of different species collaborated on projects that would have been unimaginable in the outside galaxy. Libraries that contained the accumulated wisdom of countless civilizations. This is what the galaxy could become, the voice continued. Not a collection of separate species competing for resources and territory, but a unified community working toward common goals. Zara shook her head slowly. It's incredible, but it's not natural. Conflict and competition drive evolution, drive progress. Without challenge, without struggle, don't civilizations stagnate? An excellent question, the collective replied, and Sarah could hear approval in the harmonized voices. Struggle and challenge remain, but they are internal rather than external. We struggle to understand the deepest mysteries of the universe. We challenge ourselves to grow beyond our limitations. The difference is that we face these challenges together, rather than allowing them to divide us. The decision point. The crew of the Resilience spent 3 days in the heart of the void, learning and experiencing wonders that challenged everything they thought they knew about life, consciousness, and the nature of existence itself. Some crew members spoke openly about wanting to stay, to become part of the collective, and contribute to its vast knowledge. But Sarah knew that her decision would affect more than just her crew. Humanity was still new to the galactic community, still proving itself worthy of respect and trust. Whatever choice she made would reflect on her entire species. On the third evening, she called a meeting in the ship's conference room. Her senior officers gathered around the table, each one changed by their experiences in the void. "I won't make this decision for anyone," Sarah began. "Each of you has the right to choose your own path, but I need to know what the majority of the crew wants to do." Marcus spoke first. "The scientific opportunities here are beyond anything we could imagine. The collective has offered to share knowledge that could advance human civilization by thousands of years. From a purely logical standpoint, we should stay." Tommy nodded agreement. The engineering advances alone could solve Earth's energy crisis and give us the technology to explore the entire galaxy safely. But Zara looked troubled. "I understand the appeal, but I keep thinking about humanity's role in the greater galaxy. We're the newest species on the Council. We're still proving that we deserve our place among the established civilizations. If we disappear into the void, what message does that send?" Sarah had been thinking the same thing. There's something else to consider. The collective offers unity and peace, but it also represents the end of individual growth. Every species that joins becomes part of something larger, but they also stop being what they were before. The third option. As the debate continued, an idea began to form in Sarah's mind. It was risky and unprecedented, but it might offer a solution that satisfied everyone's needs. "What if we don't have to choose between staying and leaving?" she said suddenly. "What if there's a third option?" The others looked at her with curiosity and hope. The collective wants to grow and learn, to understand the universe better. The galaxy outside is trapped in cycles of conflict and competition, unable to move past old patterns of behavior. What if we could serve as a bridge between these two worlds? She stood and began pacing, her excitement growing as the idea developed. "We return to the Council and share what we've learned. We tell them about the collective and what it offers. But more importantly, we establish a permanent communication link between the void and the outside galaxy." Marcus's eyes lit up with understanding. A cultural and scientific exchange program. The collective could share its knowledge gradually, allowing outside civilizations to adapt and grow without losing their individual identities. And the collective could continue to learn and grow by observing and interacting with species that remain independent, Zara added, catching on to the concept. Sarah activated the ship's communication system, addressing the collective directly. "We have a proposal for you. The New Alliance." The collective listened carefully as Sarah outlined her plan. There would be regular exchanges between the void and the outside galaxy. Scientists and philosophers would visit the collective to learn and contribute to its vast knowledge base. In return, the collective would share its discoveries gradually, allowing independent civilizations to grow and develop at their own pace. "It would be like," Tommy said, searching for the right analogy, "like having the best teacher in the universe, one who shares knowledge freely but doesn't take away your independence. You propose to make us not conquerors or converters, but partners," the collective mused. "This is a concept we had not considered. To remain ourselves while helping others remain themselves." Sarah nodded. Humanity believes that diversity makes us stronger. Your collective is incredibly powerful and wise, but it represents unity taken to its ultimate conclusion. The galaxy outside represents diversity at its most chaotic. Perhaps the answer lies in finding balance between these extremes. For several minutes, the collective was silent, and the crew could sense vast internal discussions taking place among the countless voices that comprised its consciousness. Finally, it spoke again. Your proposal has merit. We accept the role of teachers and partners rather than converters. But we ask something in return. What do you need from us? Send us your artists and storytellers, your dreamers and philosophers. We have accumulated vast knowledge and wisdom, but we sometimes forget the simple joys of imagination and creativity. Help us remember what it means to wonder about the impossible. The return. The journey back through the void was completely different from their entry. The Resilience was escorted by streams of energy that danced around their ship like dolphins playing in ocean waves. The collective had shared enough technical knowledge to upgrade their engines and communication systems, ensuring that they could maintain contact across any distance. As they approached the boundary between the void and normal space, Sarah felt a mixture of sadness and excitement. They were leaving behind wonders that few beings would ever experience, but they were returning with something that could change the galaxy forever. Captain, Marcus called out from his station. I'm detecting multiple ships waiting for us outside the void. Looks like representatives from at least 20 different species. They're here to see if we survived, Zora observed. Our success or failure will be news across the galaxy. Sarah took her position in the captain's chair, preparing for what would undoubtedly be the most important communication of her career. Tommy, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. Dr. Webb, make sure our sensor data is ready for transmission. Lieutenant Commander Okafor, prepare a full report on our experiences. As the Resilience crossed back into normal space, they were immediately hailed by the waiting fleet. Ambassador Veltar's voice came through clearly, and for the first time since Sarah had known him, the proud Kethvar sounded genuinely concerned. UES Resilience, this is the Council fleet. Please respond immediately. We're glad to see you. The new era. Sarah's response was broadcast not just to the Council fleet, but to listening posts throughout the galaxy. Her words would be remembered and quoted for generations to come. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Resilience. We have successfully entered and returned from the Crimson Void. What we found there was not a threat to be conquered, but a teacher waiting to be heard. We return with an offer of alliance and cooperation that could usher in a new era of peace and understanding for our galaxy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ships from dozens of species had gathered to witness humanity's return, and their communications channels filled with questions, congratulations, and requests for more information. But Sarah's thoughts were already turning to the future. In the weeks and months to come, there would be negotiations and debates, skeptics to convince and bridges to build. The collective had chosen humanity to serve as intermediaries, not because they were the strongest or most advanced species, but because they had approached the unknown with open minds and open hearts. As the Resilience set course for the Council headquarters, Sarah reflected on what they had accomplished. They had entered the galaxy's greatest mystery as representatives of humanity's newest species. They were returning as architects of a new alliance that could transform galactic civilization itself. In the depths of space behind them, the Crimson Void pulsed with its eternal rhythm, no longer a graveyard of lost fleets, but a beacon of hope for what the galaxy could become when beings chose cooperation over conflict, understanding over conquest. The age of isolation was ending. The age of true unity was about to begin. And humanity, the newest voice in the galactic chorus, had taught the oldest and wisest beings in the universe that sometimes the best way to face the unknown is simply to say hello.